Hello, my name is Jose Maria P. Domingo from 11 Newton, Gas 1. I will discuss a lesson from you from a subject of statistic and probability. Before we know what our lesson is for today, let's motivate ourselves up. Here's a picture that has a relation with our lesson for today. Try to guess what it means. So, the picture clearly shows that a girl is confessing her feelings to this man. Sadly though, he doesn't share those feelings back and doesn't like her. I believe there's a word for that. That word is rejection. Let's move to another pic. So here's the other pic. Frankly, quite better than the other one. Because this one, the boy shares her feelings back and likes her too. I believe that confessing love to another someone and sharing their feelings back, I believe there's a word for that. What is it? It's accepting. So, now that we know that accepting and rejecting has something to do with our lessons, let's try to know what our lesson is. So, our lesson for today is Lesson 5, Exploring More Element of Hypothesis Testing. So, the elements that we're about to more to explore today is the types of errors. What are the types of errors exactly? Types of errors. Let's start with type 1 error. As you can see, there's two. A type 1 error occurs if the investigator rejects a null hypothesis that is actually true, with the probability denoted by alpha A. Type 2 error says here, a type 2 error occurs when the investigator accepts the null hypothesis that is actually false, with the probability denoted by beta B. I'll explain this to you later with some examples to make sure that you actually get it. But let's go read this correct decision one. So, it says here, when conducting a hypothesis test, there are two possible decisions. Reject the null hypothesis, fail to reject the null hypothesis. That means accept, by the way. So, let's take a look at the examples. So, we have you an example of type 1 and type 2 errors so that you can understand our lesson a bit more and understand what they mean. Let's take a look at them. Here's our first picture example. It says here in the top it's a type 1 error. But how exactly is this a type 1 error? Let's take a look again what it says on the other page. So, says here, a type 1 error occurs if the investigator rejects a null hypothesis that is actually true. Another meaning of that is rejecting what is right and what is true. So, what's shown here in the pic is clearly says no parking, yet the man still parked there. He rejects the truth and still did these foolish things. That is called a type 1 error. Here's another error. It says here on the top that it's a type 2 error. Can you guess what? Well, to fully understand this, let's go back to another page so we can see what a type 2 error is. Here we go. A type 2 error occurs when the investigator accepts the hypothesis, the null hypothesis that is actually false. What does that even mean? So, in other words, it's acceptance of the false, acceptance of the wrong. So, let's take back at the pic and you see that she obviously has two boyfriends and that is wrong, and she's obviously conceiving the other one. So she knows that it's false and yet she's still doing it. She's still doing these foolish things, yet she knows that it is wrong. That is a type 2 error. Now that we know those errors, types of errors are, let's go to the correct decision. What are the correct decisions exactly? Here's the other pic, another example of the other pic. So, when you think about the correct decisions, it's basically the opposite of the type error that you use. So in the type from the last pick, as you can see, the man parked his bicycle over here, and the type 1 error is rejects the true. But now he actually accepts the true and didn't park there. So it is the correct decision. Let's get to another example. Okay, here's another example. From back then, this girl used to have two boyfriends. Now she only has one. The type of error she used to make is type 2 errors, where she accepts the false. Well, she does the wrong, but obviously now she does the correct decision and rejects the false. Now only stayed with one boyfriend. That is the correct decision for this example. I'm gonna give you few more examples from one last time, but I'm actually gonna ask you more like a little test. So hopefully you understand the situations better now. So we have three more examples. Let's start with number one. It's 10 p.m. and Rosalina is now at her room thinking about what she should do after she goes to sleep. She thought about whether to play games, too tired, or study. Rosalina then remembered that there's going to be a test tomorrow, so she fails to reject to study. What do you think is the answer here? Okay, let's check what the answer is now. And our answer is correct decision. Why exactly? Because she clearly knows that she has a test tomorrow and she didn't play games, but to study instead and review all the things that she has to do so she'll be able to pass it. So she accepts the truth. Now, from number two. Kate is currently walking on the streets with empty plastic bottle on her hand. She saw a trash can that stately says biodegradable, yet she still tossed the empty plastic bottle in it. What do you think is the answer for this one? Giving you more time to think now. Let's check the answer. Type 1 error. How? How exactly is it a type 1 error? Well, clearly, she rejects the truth. When she was walking, she clearly saw that the trash can said biodegradable and she's holding a plastic bottle, which is not biodegradable. She rejects the truth and still toss that plastic bottle into that trash can. And the last, number 3. Mario is still playing games even after his mom told him to do all the groceries. What do you think the answer is for this one? Done thinking? Let's check up the answers. It's a type 2 error. Why exactly? Well, because clearly stated that Mario is still playing games even after his mom told him to do all the groceries. He's still doing the false. He's still doing all of he's still playing games after his mom just told him to buy some groceries for them. That is a type 2 error. So, that will be our end of the lessons for today. What we learned today is what is the type 1 and type 2 error and the correct decisions, hopefully. And one of the most important factors on how to solve these investigations is look closely on what the sentence says. You clearly have to know, especially the fails to reject, that means acceptance. Again, my name is Jose Maria P. Domingo from 11 Newton, Gas 1. Be happy.